Karter Knox was the third player to join Louisville's transfer portal class this season, and he is the third player that I'm going to break down in my Louisville Basketball individual player breakdown reviews. I'm going from point guard to shooting guard now to who I project to be the starting small forward, which is Karter Knox. Karter Knox is listed on the U of L website as being 6'6", 220 pounds. At the combine, because he did take part of the combine after his freshman season, he was 6'5" barefoot with a 6'10" wingspan. Last season, in only 22 games and 18 starts, he averaged about 8 points, 4.5 rebounds, about 1.5 assists on 46% from the floor, 37.7% from three, and 73% from the free throw line. He only played 22 games last year due to a trio of injuries. He entered the season with a turf toe injury, I believe. He also had a hip injury some point in the middle of his season. And then lastly, he tore his meniscus in his final game. In his career, he's played 58 games for Arkansas, made 42 starts, and he averaged pretty similar numbers for his career that he did last season. About 8 points, about 4 rebounds, and about 1 assist on 46% from the floor, 36% from three, and 78% from the free throw line. And then in the transfer portal this year, he, according to 24/7 Sports, he was the 58th overall player and the number 7 small forward. All right, as I continue to compare the new starters to the previous 2 starters under the Pat Kelsey era, I wanted to highlight 33 starts that Karter Knox made where he played at least 18 minutes. He started 42 career games, but I'm going to highlight 33 starts where he played at least 18 minutes. And those 33 starts, and this is in the SEC at Arkansas as a starter, he averaged 10.5 points, about 4.5 rebounds, and about 1.5 assists on ridiculous shooting splits of 54% from the floor, 41% from three, and 88% from the free throw line. That's ridiculous. I would love to see him average something like that this season. Okay, anyway, so year one, Pat Kelsey, Javon Hadley was the starting small forward, and a lot of people aren't going to believe that because we all consider Javon a power forward. I mean, we know he's a small forward, but he played a lot of power forward here. But technically, the person who made the 5th most starts for Louisville in year one was a power forward, and his name wasn't Javon Hadley. So I'll get to that next episode or next breakdown. And then last season, Isaac McNeely, he did not average 110.9 points per game. That's a typo. But he did average 10.9 points a game, 3 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. All right, here we have the good and bad. So the good for Karter Knox, the top thing I've got here is that he's a 3-and-D wing. If anyone here watches the NBA, you know how important 3-and-D wings are to success. You see every team that makes a deep playoff run, they've got guys who can go out there and consistently hit shots and can consistently guard taller players, 3-and-D wing. And that's what Karter Knox is. He's an excellent defender. He's a very physical defender. And he's got I said earlier, he's got about 6'10" wingspan. He's got long arms. And he's a career 37% three-point shooter. And his set shot, open threes, I believe he's similar to Woolley. It's above 40%. His athleticism and his physicality. So he's all of 6'6", and he's 220 pounds. That's a big physical player. This is a guy who, if you put him on last year's Louisville team, outside of maybe Michael, he'd probably be the most athletic player on the team last year. And he's someone that at his height can play in the post. He can play power forward. He can go down there with the bigs and get good rebounds and be physical and compete, which leads into the next 2 things. So his paint touches. This guy is a paint touch beast. He's always cutting. He's always backdooring. He's always finding himself in the paint, and that's what wins you basketball games, paint touches. Paint touches allows you to get the ball out to the perimeter to open shooters because it pulls in the defense. Paint touches are where statistically the best and easiest shot in basketball is, and that's a shot in the paint, a shot underneath the basket, a layup, a dunk. He's very good at those things. Positional versatility. This is a guy that, even though he's a 3, and I consider him a 3, He's someone who can absolutely play the 4 because he did it at Arkansas. And he's someone who can play the 2 depending on what you're asking him to do. I don't think he can dribble the ball very much. I don't think he can really break someone down as a shooting guard, but he can go out there and make shots, and he can defend shooting guards. All right, so the bad. So the bad things here, 3 things. Injury history, it's pretty deep. I do not think he had any injuries, I guess, his freshman year. But as I said last season, he came into this year with turf toe, which limited his game immediately. Then he had a hip injury, and again, he's coming off a torn meniscus, which as of right now, he's just now getting back to being close to 100%. Inconsistencies. So everyone at Arkansas this year, the media, projected this guy to be a second-team All-SEC type player, or even better, and thought he would be an NBA coming off this season. But instead, I guess you could say he was consistent. He put up about the exact same stat line that he did previously, or he didn't improve much. And you could attest that to the injuries. I think that's pretty fair. But in general, you'd like to see him make a jump. And the last thing I'm going to put here is body control, and it might sound silly, but just go watch Karter's highlights. When he dunks, when he attacks the rim, when he comes down kind of dangerously on one leg. And that might sound silly, but genuinely, players get hurt a lot coming down, putting their body weight down on one leg. You see a lot of injuries like that in the NBA. So it's just something that I would like to see him fix. Just, still make dunks. You can still have big highlight plays, but just be safe coming down. I know that sounds silly, but it's a real thing, and I've noticed it, and I know other people that I talk to also noticed it. So what are my final thoughts and projections for Karter Knox this season at Louisville? So I think, bare bones, he's going to be a consistent 3-and-D wing, and I've got tagged up there with upside. So, at minimum, he could just continue to be the same player that he was at Arkansas, which was a good shooter, a very good shooter, a consistent shooter. I guess year 1 he had a pretty bad shooting slump, but at the end of the year he shot so well that his percentages were still pretty good. But either way, and someone who's physical, someone who can rebound, someone who can play defense. So like at minimum, that could be his role for Louisville this year. He could just be the 4th or 5th starter and do his role, and that would be good for Louisville. But there's also a chance that you see there I've got listed potential 3rd option, which I had the same thing listed for Woolley if you've seen that video. I think it's pretty clear that Jackson Shelstad and Flory Badunga will be option 1 and 2 in some shape, way, order, whatever you want. Who's going to be 3? It's either going to be Woolley or Knox, in my opinion. And what I have projected for Karter this year is for him to average 12 points, 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, give or take, on 49% from the floor, 38% from 3, and 75% from free throw line. This is a combination kind of what he's already done, including that 33-game stretch as a starter where he played starter minutes. He averaged less than these or about the same, maybe a little less than these numbers. So they're possible. They're doable. It's not a huge projection. But there is a world where Karter can even elevate his game past my projections and be the player that a lot of people thought he could be. If he can stay healthy, if he can mesh well with his team, and if Pat Kelsey's system is good for him, there is a world where we see a Karter Knox who might not be in college next year because he played his way into a very, very weak 2027 first-round draft. Another thing, he averaged 13.5 points and 5 boards on a Sweet 16 run as a true freshman at Arkansas. That's where a lot of his hype was built off of, that and being a 5-star McDonald's All-American freshman. And then also last season, even in an injury-riddled season, even in a season where there was a lot of ups and downs, he was still 3rd best at Arkansas in plus-minus. And Arkansas with 16 points per possession, points per 100 possessions better with any lineup with Karter Knox on the floor than without him. So this is a guy at minimum who's going to impact the game and impact winning. But I think Louisville's peak, Louisville's chance to be great, rather than just be very good, is all dependent on whether Karter Knox and Adrian Woolley, at least one, if not both, can make a leap.